anxious.
Actually, in those three areas, it's
The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
From the General Assembly and the City of Richmond, I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports and Chantel Communications, connecting Virginians to their government. Please welcome Senator Ralph Smith. Good to see you, sir.
Woody, it's good to be back here in the basement in your office here to talk about the issues of the General Assembly.
Great.
And of which there are many. There's been some transition in control of the state Senate, as most are aware, as having been chair of local government, one of the major committees previously, and when the control shifted to the other party, I'm a member of that committee and not the chair anymore, but in the end, most of the same work will get done.
And of course, your experience as mayor would have informed that committee greatly.
Yeah, yes, it would. I tell you, the sessions when I was chair, there's so many more responsibilities when you're in leadership. And just like my 40 years as a CEO of a company, you had to work harder than everybody else in the company, but those times went so fast because you're focused. Now it's sometimes you're back when I was a recruit in the military, and you hurry up, but you wait. Yeah, I don't wait well. I guess that's the definition. Rather be in the middle all the time, getting things done.
Absolutely. And Senator Stanley, you were part of that floor debate I noticed the other day.
I was, Woody. It was probably an interesting moment in the history of the General Assembly, but also a sad day for the Senate as well, because what we saw with the shift in power in the Senate was the use of a tactic that had never been done before, and also changed precedent and history of the Senate in a way that had never been done before. To have the Lieutenant Governor declare that we were operating since Kenny Alexander was elected with no rules, and to say that we had to reform based on that was surprising, and I think really you could call it legal fiction. But then after that, they passed a new resolution of how we operate. And they included a paragraph which created the Rules Committee as a super committee, a star chamber, so to speak, which gives John Edwards the power to take any piece of legislation that's passed out of the Senate, passed out of the House with what is called substantial amendments, which is certainly substantial, has a definition not easily defined, and he can take it from the clerk's desk, where we would normally consider it as a body of 40, put it into rules, and kill it. That flies in the face of bicameralism, and it flies in the face of democracy. And there's actually a Supreme Court of the United States case, and that was what I was arguing on the floor, the Chadha case, INS versus Chadha, which says legislative vetoes violate the Constitution. And what that committee is right now is nothing but a super committee that provides that legislative veto. So the Democrats may say that they're going to not use it liberally, but that's left to be seen.
What about the spirit of cooperation in the Senate with the Democrats now? Do you think that that's been damaged?
Oh, I think it has. As the last time there was a shift, there was some hard feelings for a time, but I think we will get through it. Some bills and some issues that are of major interest to the other side is going to prevail. Some of the issues that we as now in the minority will not. But the challenge is, and that's why it'll all be similar in the end, because the House is highly controlled by the Republican Party. So we must realize that as a Senate body of the 40 members, that you're only entertaining when you present bills that has zero chance of getting through the other body. You're just taking the valuable time of time away from the important issues that we can be dealing with.
And I think I heard someone say you're only one absentee away from reorganizing.
That was me, actually. I said on a local news program, I said, well, the message to the Democrats is they better have 20 butts in the seat every morning or we're going to have a new committee, a resolution. And that's the precedent that they've created. And that's unfortunate because what we've done always is when we reformed, it was for 4 years because we're elected every 4 years. And so we start over. And at that time, we pick a president pro tem. We pick the committees and the chairman. And it had always been previously a 4-year agreement unless both sides agreed to make a change. So what they did was just throw that all away. They threw all that history and precedent away. And so now what we have is a little bit of chaos in the Senate. And that's unfortunate. Now, you know, to kind of back into what Ralph Smith just said, you know, in the Senate, it's very collegial. We're Democrats and Republicans. There's some partisan issues, and we probably fight like brothers and sisters, but when anybody else challenges them, then we're behind them. So I'm hoping that all of this, once the dust settles, that we can get down to the people's business and do what's right for Virginia. I have a feeling and a fear, though, that the Democrats are going to use this new control to push partisan issues, social issues, which is surprising. They always clamor that the Republicans are pushing social issues when, in fact, what are the major issues we've seen them pushing? Gay marriage, other social issues. It's kind of ironic. Go figure.
Well, let's talk about ethics reform because I know that's something that both of you are interested in. It's on the agenda this year, unfortunately, because of the actions that the previous governor is alleged to have been involved in. Talk to us about what's likely to happen.
Well,
Senator
some
Smith.
ethics concerns I have had, and I've presented bills in previous sessions that did not prevail. I had 3 ethics bills in this session, 2 of which were rolled into the larger bill with some modifications, weakening out, I think, and 1 was simply killed. But I was confident when we came to Richmond, because of the unfortunate news and what we've experienced this past year, that there would be additional ethics rules. Now, I've studied this a lot. I participated in the roundtable that professionals from across the country came to Richmond to participate in here about 2 weeks ago, and hoping to find that magic formula, how we will have a successful ethics bill. But it's a challenge. Each time you propose one sentence, one part of it, there's something that trips you up on the other. And we will have a better ethics law when we complete this session. I'm pretty confident of that. Does it go as far as it needs to be? I don't think we're going to be there yet.
Senator Stanley, do you see the necessity to create an ethics commission to provide guidance, advice, and counseling to whatever regime may be adopted by the General Assembly?
I think it cannot hurt. And certainly the old saying is sunlight is the best antiseptic. And in this case, I think we need to pass some reform laws that return the people's trust back into the chambers. And that's what we have to focus on. You know, my dad used to always tell me, he was an old country boy, and he'd have these quippy sayings. He'd tell me, ethics and integrity are what you do when no one else is around. And so it is upon all of us to conduct ourselves accordingly, to hold ourselves to the highest ethical moral standards that the people who place their trust in us elected us to do. So, of course, self-policing is number 1. Number 2, though, when you look at what the media is going to do with whatever we pass, they'll always say it's not enough. But what we have to do is take this directly to the people so they know that they can trust us to do the people's business and to do it in an ethical way when we're here in Richmond.
Senator Smith, talk to us about the economy in Franklin County and the surrounding areas that you represent. The statewide average, I think, in terms of unemployment now is about 5.2%. That's good compared to other states in the nation, but it certainly could take improvement. So talk to us about the economic environment and what needs to be done.
Obviously, and because of the ever-increasing regulation and rules that are put upon people who are trying to make successful businesses, Franklin County has been hit very hard by furniture makers that have just given up the gun. If they're existing now, they have to get their product made in another country rather than right there in Franklin County, which those jobs, for a large part, have disappeared. Until we can reverse that ever-increasing regulation and prevention of starting and running a business, we're going to be at odds. Now, I think it hit Franklin County and South Side and Southwest Virginia harder than many other areas of Virginia, because we did have a good manufacturing base that's eroding away. I think it can come back. As we hear on a national scale, businesses that have had other problems in countries where costs are less, labor costs are less, are coming back to avoid those things. So we have to be cocked and ready for that.
Senator Stanley, I assume you're hearing the same things from small businesses or large businesses for that matter.
Certainly. I think, as Senator Smith has said, Southside's been hit harder in terms of the unemployment rate and the poverty rates going up than the rest of the region of Virginia. And it's been longer because after NAFTA, a lot of those textile manufacturing jobs went away. Franklin County has actually a lower unemployment rate than its surroundings, because a lot of what the northern part of the county is a retirement community. We have beautiful Smith Mountain Lake. But there are a lot of small businesses. I'm a small businessman in Franklin County, and we depend on a very vibrant economy. We depend certainly on the tourism that Smith Mountain Lake brings. But there's also a workforce that's out there that's ready to get back in the game. And so what we've been focusing on, certainly here, Senator Smith and myself, is workforce training, trying to make sure that our community colleges are the best in the world and that they can provide a world-class education for our students. And then really, after we've trained them, we've got to keep them. Right now, we're investing about $10,000 a year per pupil, per student, per year. So that's about a $140,000 investment in every child in educating them in the public school system between state and local dollars. Well, that's a lot of our tax money. It's a good investment, but that investment goes away because right now we don't have jobs for them. So they have to pick up and move to another part of the state or to another state entirely to go find their career and employment. We want them now because we think we're on the cutting edge of bringing new technology, advanced manufacturing back to Southside, Franklin County, and Martinsville and Danville area. That we want them to stay here, be able to put down some roots and grow a family and create a legacy. And so I think we're right on the edge of something great, and we're very excited about what we can do up here in Richmond to make that happen.
Senator Smith, so the programs for students in our junior colleges, for example, the 2+2 program, the tuition assistance grant program, are critical, I take it.
Absolutely. And what we need to do more of is listen to employers, what their needs are, and have a better connection with education. There's somewhat of this disconnect of what educators think young people should be prepared for and what the employers are seeking, and to bring those two together will provide
that's an excellent point, because there are a lot of high school students who decide they don't want to go to either junior college or to our institutions of higher learning, who could really benefit from vocational educational training, for example, that would prepare them for a skilled job, for example.
Yeah, in my former life as mayor of Roanoke, that was the key thing. It popped up, a natural. I heard from business community. I heard the educators. And they need to find and connect, because there are jobs. The unemployment rate is too high, but there are jobs going unfilled because of this disconnect.
That's right.
And of course, those students who do go to the junior colleges are virtually guaranteed admission into our institutions of higher learning if they maintain a certain grade point average, are they not?
That's right. Under the 2+2 program, they can get their associate's degree using the community college, which is a lot less expensive than traditional four-year institutions here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and then go on, be accepted to a four-year institution, and receive their Bachelor of Arts. And so it allows them even to stay closer to home while they're saving money, and they could work and get that associate program degree, and then go on and finish up in one of our fine institutions of higher learning. So great program. And just hitting on what you were talking about there too, we have 21% trade drain in Southside Virginia and Franklin County, what Senator Smith was saying is exactly right. There are jobs for pipe fitters, welders, arc welders, electricians, plumbers, and those jobs are high-paying jobs. We can't fill them. So we need to be focusing, I think, on VOTEC. Patrick Henry Community College, which is in Henry County, just south of Franklin, has a great program, very exciting. It deals with nanotechnology, microtechnology, engineering, and it's involving motorsports, racing. And so what they're doing is educating their children, or their students, in a way that is innovative and very interesting. I think if that program was around when I was going to college, you wouldn't see me here today, Woody. I'd be under a car, probably tinkering with it. But that program in itself, by teaching the ins and outs of the motor, is also portable in the sense that they can now go with that certification into any field in advanced manufacturing and technology. So making learning interesting, also making it portable, and then making it contemporary to the needs of the employers that are going to come to our area is critical, and they're doing a great job.
And of course, Senator Smith, our returning veterans have a lot of skills that can be used in terms of finding employment. How do we encourage those returning veterans to use those skills and to become entrepreneurs?
Well, that's a connection, and community colleges can do a lot of that. There's a number of government programs that do just that. But there's the retraining. There's the Army way, and there's the civilian way. And how do you keep that discipline that is so well ingrained in those skills there and transition them into the private enterprise? So that's another place we need some fine tuning. I think we can do better at that.
And Senator, of course, the cost of tuition for our in-state residents has just skyrocketed for our institutions of higher learning over the last 10 years. It's becoming more and more difficult for people to afford that tuition. To some extent, the out-of-state students help to subsidize that, but what can the state of Virginia do to ensure that those students are able to attend those universities?
I think it's incumbent on all of us here in Richmond to make sure that we provide to the children of Virginia as they grow an opportunity for the finest education, an affordable education. That's something we keep throwing around because those tuition costs go up every year, and they don't go up incrementally. They go up pretty substantially. What I think we need to start talking and having a conversation in the halls of Richmond at the Capitol are need to concern for parents and for those students that are going to our higher ed centers to know what those costs are going to be. To not start college at one price and then finish at another, because in the end, most students are on financial aid, and that's going to create a real problem for them coming out into the work world with so much debt. Perhaps we could lock in the tuition rates so when you start on year one, the tuition is the same as it is in year 4. That might be something that we should look at. Might be a bill that I bring next year, because that will give a lot of financial security to those students and those parents that pay those very high costs.
AAA bond rating, the state of Virginia continues to enjoy. We reclaimed the #1 position in terms of being a state with a business-friendly environment. You talked about burdensome rules and regulations that have done away with some industries in the Commonwealth, and especially in Franklin County. How can the General Assembly ensure that we maintain that AAA bond rating and we maintain that #1 ranking?
Don't spend more than you take in. That's the key.
Maintain a balanced budget, #1.
And when we made the commitment to the retirement fund, do not be robbing, like happened 3 or 4 years ago, robbing from the retirement fund to make it look like we had a balanced budget. Things like that. We're paying back for burning that credit card some years ago, and it's just it's not a bottomless pit of funding. We try to exceed that. It slows down the economy totally. You get a temporary surge, but then you fall off a cliff, and that's what we have to do differently. Pay as you go. There was a guy named Harry Byrd that a lot of people didn't agree with a lot of things he did and said in his reign, but he was a pay as you go guy. I tend to lean that way myself.
And of course, Senator Stanley, sequestration has had an adverse impact on the economy of the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth, as the Senator has indicated, is required by law, the Constitution, to maintain a balanced budget, unlike your friends in Washington. What are your thoughts and advice about maintaining that AAA bond rating and ensuring that the Commonwealth also maintains that #1 ranking from Forbes?
One word: diversification. I think the Commonwealth has grown too dependent on the federal government. I think the number is 20% of our employees are employed by the federal government, mostly in Northern Virginia, where I lived in Virginia Beach in Northern Virginia in the early 70s, and they were sleepy little towns, and over time, the federal government, its presence has grown enormously. So there's a dependency. So when there's a government in Washington, D.C. that's $17 trillion in debt, and through sequestration, the cuts are made or funds are tightened, then we see an adverse effect almost immediately where other parts of the nation might not. So we have to create some diversification and some regional partnerships where manufacturing down in Southside Virginia and Franklin County is merged with new technology industries in Northern Virginia or in Hampton Roads. I think when we become regional and we separate, that is to segregate ourselves from Northern Virginia, then as a state, that's going to create some problems. If we are completely dependent or more dependent on the federal government for revenues, then that's going to create a lot of problems, especially with the government right now in Washington that can't sustain the way it's going forever. We do it economically, smartly. We're fiscally and strategically smart with the money that we have. You know, the Founding Fathers founded this capital first and then modeled their federal government system after us. We're part-time legislators. We don't spend more money than we take in. We balance our budget. I don't know why they can't figure it out.
Senator Smith, transportation. There was a significant funding bill passed last year. It's going to be implemented over a number of years.
You voted for that, huh?
Tell us how that's going to affect your district.
You spent that money. I didn't vote to tax you more to do that.
Me neither.
But now it's there. We must use that money. One thing that's Senator Stanley has pushed for and I've supported is I-73. I think it's many years away from being a reality, but the more we talk about it and start the planning process, the sooner that's going to come about. And I think would be a big plug for especially Franklin County and Southside.
Tell us a little bit more about I-73 and why it's critical.
I-73 is a highway that begins at the deep ports of South Carolina, traverses through North Carolina, and into Southside Virginia, beginning in Martinsville, and then going right in between Franklin County onto Roanoke. And it is a proposed route. It's been there a lot of times. Right now, we drive down US 220, and what we see is a sign that says Future I-73. A lot of people in our area say, well, we're just not going to see it built in our lifetime. But I don't believe that. And I think North Carolina and South Carolina, I've spoken with the people down there, they're very excited if we get excited about building it. So I put in a resolution this year to create a 2-year study commission here in Virginia using citizens and representatives in the area to see how we can get this done, how we can build it, where the finances are going to come from to make it happen, how many jobs we can create. And ultimately, then with this commission, invite North Carolina and South Carolina to join the commission so that we can work as partners to make it happen, because it's going to benefit South Carolina, North Carolina, and us in tremendous ways. It's the shot in the arm we're going to need in Southside, and I want to see it built in my lifetime.
I want to get back to employment issues, because you have another initiative that was recently endorsed by the Chamber of Commerce, yes, I believe, regarding temporary unemployment compensation. Talk to us about that concept and what it would do.
Absolutely. In a lot of manufacturing areas, as we've seen, when there's a downturn in the economy or a manufacturer's business, the first place that they go to cut costs is in the employment. So they lay off employees, which then go on the Virginia unemployment system, so the state pays their unemployment compensation during that time. What the work-share bill does is where you have participating companies, they create a partnership agreement with the state where instead of laying the worker off, they reduce the hours of the worker. So they keep the worker on the job, and then the difference being made up by our unemployment commission benefits. A substantial part of that would be picked up by VEC. But it saves the state money, because instead of having that employee that's unemployed and we're paying the full 66% of their salary, we pay a smaller portion. We keep the worker working, we keep their skills sharp, and they get to keep their health benefits, their dental. That's very important. And also, they're not out there retraining for a job or looking for a job. And for the company, they still have a vibrant workforce for when the economy turns around or their manufacturing needs go up. The workforce is right there for them. They're not out there looking for them again.
Great. Senator Smith, last year the U.S. Supreme Court upheld, to some people's dismay, to other people's glee, the Affordable Care Act / Obamacare. But it left to the states the question of whether Medicaid expansion would occur. The state of Virginia has taken a position of not expanding Medicaid. That's on the agenda. Again, we have the Medicaid Innovation and Reform Commission that's been studying that issue. We've had a number of presentations to both bodies recently. What do you think is going to happen, and where do you come out on that issue?
Well, I don't think anything is going to happen now, because the House of Delegates has said we will not support this expansion, and I support them in that effort, simply because there's no free lunch. It don't matter how you spend it or spin it. That's a cost. Once you give something, a benefit to somebody, 40 years of running a company, you don't give them a benefit and then take it back away. In 2 years' time, when we have to come up with the money and simply can't, you talked about bond ratings, you fall off a cliff real fast when you're suddenly hitting the face with additional billions of dollars in cost. So that's where we are. I'd love to give the benefits to all of us, but it's a limit on our resources.
So it's not worth the risk taking the significant amount of monies that the federal government would provide the state of Virginia.
Well, the estimate is $9.8 billion over 5 years, with a guarantee that they'd pick up the first 3 years, and then there's no guarantees really after that. But again, we're talking about a government that's $17 trillion in debt, and to believe that they can sustain that level in so many states is just not tenable. What you're really finding, especially in Southside, is it's a dilemma for us, because when we look at the expansion, it would cover a lot of people in our area. We're not out of tune with that. It would help. And it would certainly help the largest private industry, which we have there right now, which is the healthcare industry. But quite frankly, as Senator Smith just said, when they dial it back to the 50-50 that we have right now with Medicaid, right now that's 21% of our state budget, right up. 21 cents of every dollar that we generate in revenue goes to Medicaid right now. If you put a new $2 billion requirement on us, where are we going to get it? Are we going to take it from education? Are we going to take it from public safety? Or are we going to put it on the backs of the Virginians by raising their taxes again, taking money out of their pockets, taking it off their kitchen table? That's really where the problem is. There has to be another solution. And Medicaid, I don't believe is the solution, because it's really fraught with waste and abuse, and it's not a greatly run program by the federal government. So we're going to address the issues. I just don't think this is the easy answer.
Senator Smith, we got less than 30 seconds left, but I wanted to get your view on what will occur in terms of mental health reform.
Southern drawl, I can't say anything to 30 seconds, but that said, we are going to get some reforms. I just came from Ed and Health Committee, and we're in the process right now. There will be some reforms. I hope we get it right. There's certainly all 40 members, and I'm confident all the House of Delegates has serious concerns. I think we'll do better.
Great. Thank you for both being here, Senator Bill Stanley, Senator Ralph Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Chantel, connecting Virginians to their government. Until next time, I'm Woody Evans.